Hey, girl. Hey, and welcome to another episode of Girl Talk. And today we have a special episode because I have a special guest host who just so happens to be the woman who birthed me into this world, my amazing, fabulous, super dope, gorgeous, unmatched, remarkable lady, my mama, Karen Johnson. Yay!
Hey girl, hey, how are you this evening?
Hey, girl. Hey, I am doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, Victoria. I just wanted to thank you for letting me be your guest host tonight. But I wanted to share with everyone tonight, just do a quick interview with you and just tell me, kind of like how did Hey Girl, Hey come about? What was your vision for Hey Girl, Hey? How did it come? How'd you come up with the name for one thing? That's what I'm interested about.
I get that question a lot, actually. So, Hey Girl, Hey came about when I was a fitness instructor. And there was just something I would say in my classes all the time. Hey, girl. And then the response would always be, hey. So it just kind of became something that I was known for. And then I made a thing of it where halfway through all of my classes, I would tell the participants to find a girl that they haven't met before and give them a high five and say, hey, girl, hey. And so that became a thing where people, if I forgot to do it, folks were like, we didn't say, hey, girl, hey. So it became a thing. And then I'm a big, I believe in like names and having a purpose behind names and words. And so I sat down and I just went through the dictionary looking up different words with the letters G.U.R.L. and just came up with found words I felt really epitomized what I wanted the message to be about Hey Girl, Hey. And initially, like I said, it started in my fitness classes. I had no idea that it would be what it is now and what it will be in the future, but to be an acknowledgement of you're gorgeous, you're unmatched, you are remarkable, and then when all else fails, be a lady. And so that's kind of where the name Hey Girl, Hey came from.
Well, Vicky, that's amazing. I really like how you chose that and how you did your research. And you've always been that kind of a little girl. When you were little, I remember that when you were in kindergarten, the teacher used to tell me, like, can you please not dress her so nice because she won't play? And I'm like, she won't play? I said, those are play clothes. And they go, you dress her so nice. And you've always been that type of child that I want to succeed. I want to be successful. I want to do things the right thing. So, I appreciate you for being that child. I really, really appreciate that. And,
I know a funny story though. That's funny that you say that because just today, Braylon, who's my son, your grandson, and I were talking about, I can't remember how it came up, but we were talking about names. And I was telling him how, names are important, especially in the Black culture. Names historically have been, it's your identity. It's who you are. It's the first major decision that your parents make for you. In my opinion, that's kind of how it was for me. So it was a big deal. So he's like, well, what is my name? And so I went through and explained to him what his name meant and why I chose his name, and then explained to him what Jaden's name meant and why we chose Jaden's name. So he said, well, what is your name? What does your name mean? I said, well, my name means victory. It's Victoria, and it means victory. And he was like, really? He's like, what does that mean? I was like, that means, I said, ever since I was a little girl, I've always expected to win. I always thought that I had to do things to win. I'm like, and you won't always succeed. You won't always win, per se. You won't always come out on top, but your goal should always be to win. And that's kind of how I've always felt. So it's funny that you said that about me being a kid, because that's always been, well, as far as I can remember, kind of how I remember someone telling me, might have been you, that my name meant victory. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm supposed to be victorious. So it's kind
of. And you are at that. And I'm very proud of you. Vicky, with all of this, we call you Vicky instead of Victoria because you're victorious. But with all of this going on with the pandemic and thing, how have you adapted with Hey Girl, Hey? What have you done to still continue to make Hey Girl, Hey successful?
Well, I definitely had to pivot because initially my vision, so backing up, Hey Girl, Hey I launched it August of 2019. So it's almost been a year that I launched the business, and had my first event October of 2019, which was crazy.
Right, right. That was great.
It was a great event, but it was like after I had started planning, I was like, what did I get myself into? But my goal was to do some live events, in-person events for women to just connect, make new friendships, to get fed a little bit, learn some new skills or techniques, or, for self-care, that kind of thing. So that was my initial goal. And then when the pandemic hit, I had to pivot because everything had to go virtual, and I was stuck for a minute because I was like, what am I supposed to do? But at the end of the day, part of my mission is to serve women, right? And to meet women where they are, and fill a gap however I can. So the first thing I did was I hosted the Mind, Body, Soul Virtual Summit, which was a lot of fun. I had no idea what I was doing.
You did a great job. I had a wonderful time and was really fed, really fed.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. And people are asking about the next one. So I'm like, okay, well, October's event, I have to postpone that until 2021. So I'm like, maybe we'll just make that into a virtual event again. But I think that's one of the biggest things I learned about, I guess, in life in general, not even just business, that you just have to be willing to pivot. So you can make plans. And part of my program with Master Your Time and the Launchpad program is about, planning, time management, and planning your day and planning your months, weeks, and as much as we plan, we all know that we don't have
Yeah.
the final say in our plans.
Yes, yes.
We don't get to determine what's going to happen. However, I found that because I had a vision of what I wanted, right? For Hey Girl, Hey, I knew what my mission was. It allowed, and I had it planned, I had something planned. It allowed me to pivot a lot easier because I wasn't starting from scratch. It was just like, how can I get this mission out? How can I get this message out without starting from scratch? And I think that's why it's still relevant to plan, and why it still makes sense to have some time management processes in place, because not if, but when life happens and the unexpected comes into play, you can make those pivots, you can make those shifts that you need to make in order to get yourself to where you're trying to go.
Right. And that's one of my biggest things, that I am such a procrastinator, and that I don't really plan things. I'm just winging it most of the time. And I just did yeah, yeah. I taught you well. Yes.
Yeah.
And we, and I just wing it most of the time. But when I went through your training, your virtual one you just did this last time, that what was a time management planning.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought mastering time. I thought that was really interesting. I took some tips and I wrote down some things. So I'm slowly putting them into place. If you could share just like one of your tips of time management or planning, which one did you tend to lean to, or tell someone to start with? Like, what would be the most important you think they should start with?
Yeah. So
as far as time management.
I have what I call my 3 P's to perfect planning and time management, and that's prepare, prioritize, and personalize. And the prepare piece, I think, is easiest to do because it's simply just writing down all the things that you want to accomplish, in whatever, in the day or the week, the month. And it's just getting that overarching view of all the stuff all the responsibilities that you have and all the things that you want to do. It's like that to-do list kind of, that's kind of the concept behind it. But I think the most important part of it is the second P, which is prioritize. And I think that's what a lot of women especially fail to do, is to prioritize what they want to do, and fitting, they just try and fit everything in. I'm just going to do it all. I got to get this done, so I got to do it all. When everything obviously isn't equally important. There's some things that you cannot do. There's some things that need to be put off for another day or next month, or you need to delegate. And so these are all things that I try and teach in my program, because I know as women especially, we have a tendency to try and just be superwoman, right? And not want to tell people no, and not really good at setting boundaries. But my goal of the program was to really help women and give them permission to do so. You can do it. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And so remembering that and prioritizing your time accordingly, I think that's probably the most important thing to the three P's. Personalize is the last one, which is you're making it your own. You're fitting it in your digital calendar, or if you like a handwritten planner, which I still like both. So but that prioritized piece is just really big, because it's going to free up your time so you can have time for self-care, so that you can start to set boundaries with other people who are, demanding of your time. I used to always say I attract needy people, but I realize now, since I've gone through this process myself, I didn't attract needy people. People just knew that I would do it, so they asked me to do it. They knew that I would
Right.
say no.
Right.
I was an easy target. And once I realized
Yes.
that, and I realized that I'm stressing myself out trying to get this thing done for this person, and they chilling.
Right.
They got all kinds of
Right.
kick back. I'm helping you plan your party, and I'm working harder on your party than you are. So once I realized that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let people do that to me anymore. I'm not going to let that be. So if I can do it, great. If I want to do it, I will. If I don't, if it doesn't fit my schedule, then I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, that's what I have to work on, is setting boundaries. And I think that is probably the hardest thing women, and I say some men, but women have problems with, because we're mothers. And so we tend to, want to help everyone. That's just in our nature. We want to nurture people. We want to assist them and help them be successful. But then sometimes we overwhelm ourselves, and we don't take care of ourselves first. And that's very important, and I like that you talk about boundaries and you talk about self-care. And speaking of your October event last year, it was really, really good for your first event. You had some powerful women speaking. You had, which I really enjoyed, the yoga on Sunday morning out on the grass in Palm Springs. It was just excellent. And you put all of the personal touches in it that gave us women time to relax and to really reflect on our lives. And that's like I said, I'm still working on the boundaries part. I'm getting a little better with it as I get older. But I tell people now, I share with you as my daughter, just, you're starting right. You're starting now. And then we need to teach our children that there's boundaries too. Teach our, like my grandchildren, we start teaching them that there's boundaries.
Right.
There's certain things that I can't do for you, right? So, and it doesn't fit in my schedule, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. And so that's another thing, So how do you tell your children, like, I know you have Jaden and Braylon. What do you say to them when they get in that mode where they're just needy? Oh, I need you. But you're like, that's not on my schedule. I can't fit that in. How do you shift them so they don't feel like you don't love them? Like, mom doesn't love me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now one of the things I realized that I did for a long time was I equated me giving of my time and of myself to that person, like their acceptance of love from me, or that communicated how much I love that person, because I was doing this and this for them. So that showed them how much I love them. And this is like, actually, I think it was even before I was a mom, even before I, had kids. I just always just like, that's why I was always saying yes to people. That's why I was such a yes person, because I felt like that person would know how I felt about them because I was saying yes to them. Right. And I would carry that into my marriage. I carried that into me being a mother. And then it was to the point where I was exhausted and I was tired and I was resentful. And I didn't even, like, they were getting on my nerves, like left and right. Just being 100% honest. Right. We don't get anywhere by telling lies. So I got to a point where I was like, I have to do something different. Something has to change. And so now a lot of my kids will hear me say, it's not your time right now. It's mommy's time right now. Or even if it's me and Braylon or me and one of the other kids, if it's our time and we're talking, we're having a conversation, and then Jaden tries to come in, Jaden, it's not your time right now. We'll get to you in a moment. Because first of all, it teaches them that the whole world doesn't revolve around them, because kids are very egocentric anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it teaches them, in my opinion, that the world doesn't revolve around them, and it teaches them patience. And you have to wait for some things sometimes.
Yep.
That's something that we have, PJ and I both have tried to work on, is just really honing in where it's like, it's not about you. Okay, mommy and daddy are talking right now. This is not your time. And I don't think that they feel any other kind of way in it. Now that we kind of become a norm, and they'll go find something else to do. And then sometimes they'll come back and say, well, is it our time yet? Is it time yet?
Like what? Yeah, I can hear Jaden saying that. Wait a minute.
Yeah, she's like, is it my time?
It's been 1 minute.
Right. And so
it's been 1 minute, Grandma.
It's important, I thought, though, because it did, like, even with me having a business and being a stay-at-home mom, there's times where I have to dedicate to my business. And with them being home all the time now with COVID, we've had to really set boundaries where I have to be in the office on a call, like right now, and I need you not to come in here unless it's an emergency, and we get a lot of screen time in.
So you need to go in and get some screen time.
Yes, go get this noggin right here and get on it's ABC Mouse.
Yep, something.
Turn on the closed caption, they can read.
Get that education thing. Absolutely.
But I really have adopted the mindset, and you'll hear me start talking about this more in Hey Girl Hey, is that we teach people how to treat us. And that's true. That includes our kids, our coworkers, whomever in our circle. We teach people what we will and will not tolerate. And so once you teach them, now when you decide, because there's always an opportunity to change. But when you decide you're going to make that change, it's going to hurt them. Their feelings going to be hurt a couple times, and they're not going to like it. And it's going to be uncomfortable for you because it's a new norm. But just like we had to make this shift and stay at home and wear a mask everywhere we go, and people it's become a norm, right? Just like you did that, now you can pivot and say, you know what? My time is important. I can do anything, but I can't do everything, and just changing that mindset and allowing yourself to make those changes and dealing with the consequences that you might lose some friends, you might, but at the end of the day, when you have a better relationship with yourself, everything else will fall into place. And you can't get you're feeding everybody else when you're pouring from an empty cup.
That's true. I like that when you're pouring from an empty cup, because sometimes, you get you have so many things on your plate that you can't do one good thing. Mm-hmm. And I felt like this, if I can do one good thing, because I'm not one of the person, most of my friends look at me and say, oh, Karen, can you help me do this? Like I just had your aunt for one of your cousins' birthday party. Yeah. She called me like the 11th hour, like your dad called and said, hey, can you come and help? Can you come help set up the party? And I'm like, and I'm laying in bed because I'm like, I'm not going to the last minute. But of course, when he called, I jumped up, went over there and helped, came back, got the grandkids. I mean, it worked out, but it was like, at that point, sometimes I think I should have said, well, you know what? I can't help this time. But you know what? I just felt like this was a time that, I hadn't done anything all day. And what I said, if I don't get up, I'm not going to go. Right. Because I'm so, with this pandemic and the COVID thing, I'm just so anxious. And that's the thing. I have a lot of anxiety about that. Mm-hmm. So I just talked to people today about it. I hadn't done any fundraising or anything like that. And not fundraising, I'm sorry, volunteering. Mm-hmm. Haven't done any volunteering because I was like, I don't want to do anything in person.
Right,
so
you are the volunteer.
Today we did a big, yeah, I love to volunteer. I love my children. I love my seniors. Yes. I love to help out in the community. And I went today and they had this big food, back to school drive, everything. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do the food. So when I got there, I was like, I had my mask on. I had us all social distance. I was like, I don't want to do food. I want to hand out food. So I went and I worked directing traffic. And I'm telling you, I was telling you earlier about that. That's a hard job.
Yeah, it is.
That's a hard job because my arms hurt like this way, that way. But to come back around, it was just that I felt that that made me feel good again. I felt like I was doing something a little normal, even though I had on my mask, even though we had our gloves, even though we, washing hands, hand sanitizer, and making sure we're, social distancing. It gave me some normalcy, and I felt better. I didn't feel as anxious as I normally have been feeling. So have you found yourself getting in an anxious where you just don't want to do anything rut? I mean, self-care would be like, but do you find yourself getting in a rut, like this is just too much and I just can't do it?
Absolutely, because in the things that I would normally do, like my schedule, because I have set myself up so much to have a routine and a schedule, and like on my phone, I have alerts that go off, and it's this time and that time, and because I really try to practice what I preach, right? So my schedule has gotten completely thrown off. My routine has gotten completely thrown off. And so, it took me a long time. It still has taken me a long time. And I felt a lot of anxiety. So Braylon starts school again on Monday. So I felt a little anxiety creeping up about that because we haven't gotten the teacher assignments yet. We haven't gotten the class schedule. I'm like, what is this virtual thing going to look like? Because I need to plan my business around this, And one of my neighbors, she and I were texting back and forth. She's like, I can't believe we haven't gotten it. I'm starting to feel anxious and it's stressing me out. I'm like, listen, we can't control it. And stressing about it is not going to change it. So at the end of the day, the one thing we do know is that our kids will get some type of education next year. They will get some type, whether it comes from us, whether it comes from the school, they will be learning something at some point. So let's decide that we're not going to stress about these schedules and these teacher assignments. And we're just going to enjoy these last few days that we have, not having to worry about school, and just enjoy our kids. And she's like, you know what, you're absolutely right. So I think for me, it's like you said, finding something that you enjoy to do and making that shift however you can, making a decision within you to just think differently, to change your perspective, Another thing is you brought up, like, my dad calling you, sometimes I think it's always appropriate to make space for the people who make space for you. Within, and so I know part of the reason why you felt that obligation to get up and go was because you call Ronnie Franklin at any point, he gonna be there, He's the same way. And so with all that said, with all I said before about, looking at for yourself and doing things and setting boundaries with yourself, I feel like there's always an appropriate time to make that time for those type of people, because that they make that time. But if there's somebody that's constantly pulling from you and they're not feeding you and filling you back up, and we don't always do things to get, that's not what I'm saying either, but just being mindful, mindful of the people that are feeding you, And so, I just wanted to say that too. But the anxiety thing, I think it's really, a lot of it is mindset and allowing yourself to find some joy in something, whether it's, sometimes I know PJ, my husband, what he'll do now is he'll go out and just sit on the porch and just like watch the cars drive by, and it's just because it's almost like it's too hot to go out walking right now, but I just don't want to be in the house anymore. So he'll go out and sit in the front yard, or we'll take the kids. We took them out and they were drawn with chalk in the driveway, just to do something different, to break it up, because we are strictly abiding by this social distancing stuff. So we're inside the house a lot. So
right. Yeah, I was telling.
Calls me and says, she called me this morning. I said, what are you doing? Oh, trying to get some sun. They said my vitamin D was low. Like, I'm sitting out in the garage, outside the garage, trying to get some sun. I said, okay.
Look, they sell some vitamin D in the store. That's what I was told her. They got some vitamin D in the store.
I took my 2 gummies this morning.
Because we have a heat warning right now. So there is some vitamin D in a bottle.
It was about 8:00 when she called me, so it was still pretty early. It was probably about 92.
Yeah, it was hot. Funny, I wanted to share that with you. But self-care is I know it's just about, taking care of yourself, relaxing, winding down, having some me time to yourself, whether you go for a walk by yourself, whether you find some music to listen to and
Right.
just meditate, pray, whatever it, you know, that's going to make
And
you
it
feel
doesn't
good.
have to be so, like most people, and I think traditionally people associate self-care with like, oh, I'm gonna go spend the day at the spa, or I'm gonna go get a mani-pedi or a facial, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it definitely is a part of self-care. But for me, and my message is greater than that, because first of all, if you have small kids that you are primarily responsible for, whether it is a single mom or a stay-at-home mom, like trips to the spa don't happen too often. Like,
Right. That's true.
even getting mani pedis, because if I go get a mani pedi, that means I have to take one or both of my kids with me.
Right.
9 out of 10, you know. So it's not something that happens all the time. And I literally just today on my Instagram, I posted six free or low cost self-care activities. And it's just simple stuff like an at-home mani pedi or facial, an at-home workout. So I love to watch Pop Sugar Fitness, and my oldest daughter and I, that's we did every morning, 9 o'clock, we pull up a video and do yoga or boot camp or something, you know. But it was, and then afterwards we feel so good. If we missed a workout, we both were moping around the house all day. So it just made a difference for us. Another thing I have is to binge watch your favorite show. Just sit down, find some quiet time, just binge watch, you know. To journal, take up a new hobby. So one of my new hobbies that I want to learn is gardening. I really want to start a garden. So that's something that I can be out there, put my mind on,
Getting
and
some vitamin D.
get some vitamin D. There you go.
Yeah.
And the last one I put was go for a drive. So just get in the car and just drive around. I know you've done that. I've talked to you a couple of times, like, I'm driving to Red Rocker. No, where'd you go that time? Was it Red Rock? Where'd you go?
To Red Rock, yeah.
To Red Rock.
I
Yeah.
just jumped
So,
in the car, drove to Red Rock.
yeah. So just get in the car and
Close, but
go.
I went. Yeah.
Yeah. Just gas up the car, get some water bottle and a blanket just in case.
Yeah.
And just go. But just, you know, just so you don't have to be in the house, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to necessarily make an appointment to do it, other than scheduling time or maybe being intentional. And that's another thing I always preach, is that you have to schedule your self-care. So you can't just say in your head like, oh, on Friday I'm going to do this. It has to be something that you're making time for, that you're putting in your calendar, that you're writing down, that you're letting other people, if you live in the house with somebody else. I'm famous for, you've seen my bathroom mirror, writing stuff on my bathroom, my goals and my, you know, just things I want to accomplish. I write it on my bathroom mirror in a dry erase marker, because not only for me, but I need PJ and the kids to see that too. So, you know, that when I'm trying to go, don't plan my time for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, Vicki, we're gonna wind down this interview.
Yeah.
I appreciate you helping me with this podcast. It's you know, it's great sitting there. I talk to you all the time anyway, but it was great just getting to talk to you in a little more in depth about what's going on. And I really missed you, and I am actually going to get a COVID test this week so I can do it. So once I get my test back, my results back, I'm gonna plan a trip to California to see you and my grandchildren, my son-in-law, because you know I got the best son-in-law in the whole wide world.
The best.
You know,
Yes.
the best.
That's my guy. You can follow me at Hey Girl Fitness on Instagram. I'm on Facebook at Hey Girl Fitness. My website is heygirlfitness.com. Just put in Hey Girl, G.U.R.L. Fitness, and you will find me.
That's right. And you guys need to follow her because it's the bomb. Great information, free information, because she gives the best free information. Like you said, she gave you those tips on how to have self-care with no dollar spent. So, hey girl, hey, thank you so much. And I love you. Peace out.
I love you too. And I'm out.